What's up everybody, my name is Doomasect, and today we're going to talk about Flareon. Oh Masuda, I really have to wonder how badly announcing that Sword and Shield won't have the full list of Pokemon is going to look in the future. On a scale of announcing the PS3's price point to the reveal of the X-Bone, how badly did you screw things up? Of course I'd have been okay with this had we just came out and said, yes, there are a lot of Pokemon. We want our staff to be able to go home and see their families on occasion, and we want to get this game out quickly for you. Now, granted, this statement comes with its own issues, most notably that you have the largest IP in the world. You should easily be able to hire more staff to work on this game. But at the end of the day, that does still sound a lot better than the straight-up lie that we got spoon-fed in the end. We want to improve the balance of battling with so many Pokemon, and improve the overall gaming experience. Well, people were really quick to jump on the graphical side of things, but let's talk real quick about the balance. The balance in Pokemon games has always bugged me. Every honest trailers you hear about do the same thing, talking about how Pokemon has this rock, paper, scissors formula, but that's not really right. Rock, paper, scissors is a balanced game. Rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, and paper beats rock. But Pokemon has more than 3 types, and it's clear not everything has stayed balanced there. Imagine a world where rock still beats scissors, but now 5 other things beat rock, and that's pretty much Pokemon's type and balance. But today, we're not going to be focusing on typing. Rest assured though, that video is coming. No, today I want to focus on the individual Pokemon. This brings us to Flareon. So the evolutions are all things that Eevee can evolve into. They're super popular Pokemon, t-shirts of them abound. And here we have Flareon, our fire type evolution. Fire type also being a very popular type, given that it's one of the few starter types. I'm a little curious as to how many people actually ended up ever using a Firestone on their Eevee, if they went the grass and water starter route. I always go fire myself, so Flareon's never usually a good choice. But as it turns out, Flareon isn't a good choice regardless. Let's break things down. It's time to look at some stats. All evolutions have an interesting thing going on with their base stats. They all share the following values. 1 stat of 60, 2 stats of 65, 1 stat of 95, 1 of 110, and a final one of 130. Flareons are arranged like this. 65 in its HP stat. This is very common amongst the evolutions. 130 in its attack stat. 60 in defense, 95 in special attack, 110 in special defense, and 65 in speed. Well, obviously the standout stat for Flareon is its attack. If you're confused about base stats, let me give you a little rundown. Flareon's attack stat is on par with things like Machamp, Ho-Oh, Scizor. Tyranitar only has a base attack stat of 134, only 4 points higher. And while there are other Pokemon out there with much higher attack stats, most notably Megas and Legendaries, an attack stat of 130 still puts Flareon well above the average. Flareon has a huge problem though. While its stats are all fun and good on paper, they don't mean a damn thing if you don't have the move pool to back it up. And this sadly becomes our first area that kills our cute little Flareon. Flareon has one of the most abysmal move pools in the entire game, and I quite sadly wish I could say it was the only Pokemon to have this issue. But as we'll see throughout this video, it's not. We've established Flareon's a physical attacker. It wants physical moves. It's also a fire type, so let's look at its physical fire moves. It learns an entire 2. Fire Fang, a 65 damage fire move, which isn't horrible, but it's not great, and would likely stop being useful by the end of the game. Flare Blitz, on the other hand, is the fire elemental version of Double Edge, and while competitive players all over seem to love this move, it leaves a little something to be desired for casual players. Yes, Flare Blitz is a powerful move, but the recoil it provides is also devastating for your own Pokemon. Seriously, have you ever tried to take a Flare Blitz Pokemon through the Elite Four, especially one that can't heal? It's either going to faint often, or you're going to have to spend items after every battle healing this thing. And this is really annoying, because if Flareon had 130 points in its special attack, it would have access to Flamethrower, which means you could do the same thing, but without the constant recoil damage that you get from Flare Blitz. Flareon can can also be taught the move Flame Charge via TM, but considering this move has a lower base power than Fire Fang, it's not really that good of an option. Now I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying, okay, well I'll go that special attack route then and use that flamethrower. Flareon does have a very respectable special attack stat after all. Well, you have another thing coming. See, Flareon's access to good physical fire moves isn't its only downside in the move pool department. Flareon's move pool in general just sucks. The majority of TMs, egg moves, and tutor moves it can learn are all weaker normal moves or fire moves. The most notable exception is the move Superpower, which it can learn via tutors. Dig sadly wasn't a TM in Generation 7, which effectively cut off Flareon's ability to learn said move. Now, as I'm recording this before Sword and Shield releases, I have no idea if Dig will end up returning as a TM, but if we assume no, this means Flareon has yet another viable move removed from its move pool. Now, don't get me wrong, Flare Blitz, Return, and Superpower can all get you by and will make Flareon at least usable to take through the Elite Four, but when we compare this to the other evolutions, it seems a little lacking. At least with the others, they get a solid 80 to 90 power move of their own type that has no drawbacks and corresponds to their highest damaging stat. Surfer Scald for Vaporeon, Thunderbolt for Jolteon, Ice Beam for Glaceon, Leaf Blade for Leafeon, Moonblast for Sylveon, Psychic for Espeon, and Throat Chop for Umbreon. Though, considering Umbreon's horrible attack stats, you may just want to rock Foul Play instead. On a side note, why can't Umbreon learn Crunch? It clearly has a mouth. Actually, somewhat interestingly, Umbreon, Leafeon, and Flareon, all of the three physical attacking evolutions, seem to have much more limited move options than those special attacking ones. Still, Flareon isn't the only Pokemon lacking a move pool. Hell, it's not even the only Gen 1 quadrupedal fire Pokemon. Rapidash has a similar problem, at least in the fire move department. That said, Rapidash has access to at least some better moves, including Poison Jab and Mega Horn, as well as Wild Charge. Arcanine, also in a similar situation, also gets access to Wild Charge. Well, why the hell can these two be taught that move, but not Flareon? I would guess it's something to do with Flareon's low speed stat, but who knows. Also, interestingly enough, Flareon didn't always have access to Flare Blitz. It wasn't given this move till Generation 6, 2 gens after Flare Blitz was released. It shares this trait with another Pokemon, Entei, another quadrupedal physical fire attacking Pokemon. So while Flareon was given Flare Blitz, Entei got freaking Sacred Fire. That's Ho-Oh's signature move. I'm not complaining, but it's just like, oh, are we doing that now? So long as a Pokemon is a legendary, it can apparently get another legendary Pokemon's signature move? Well, apparently not, because it's time to talk about Zapdos and Articuno. Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno are Gen 1's legendary bird trio, and being birds, they thus all have the flying type. They all also share the trait of being special attackers. To anyone that's ever had the unfortunate graces of a special attacking flying Pokemon, you probably know exactly where this is going. The flying type currently has 7 special base attacks, 3 of which are signature moves: Oblivion Wing, Aeroblast, and Chatter. This leaves Air Slash, Air Cutter, Gust, and Hurricane. Well, let's go ahead and push Gust out of the picture, as its low attack power means it's pretty much useless. Air Cutter isn't that much better, which leaves Air Slash and Hurricane. And now, the idiocy can begin. Moltres can learn both of these moves, which is why it's not among the other two in getting the shaft. Articuno can learn Hurricane, which doesn't help it much. Unless it's raining, Hurricane has horrible accuracy, and that's not what Articuno, being an ice type, wants. Zapdos, on the other hand, would love Hurricane, as it already needs it to be raining to have 100% accurate thunders. Of course, when it comes to being able to generate hurricanes, though, Zapdos is left high and dry. This still pales in comparison to the fact that Moltres can not only learn Hurricane, but Air Slash. Why does it get access to a viable special flying attack, and the others don't? Hey, remember when I said Entei got Ho-Oh's signature move? Well, why can't Articuno and Zapdos also get Aeroblast, or better yet, Oblivion Wing? Why is it so difficult for certain Pokemon to get access to good attacks? And as if the evolutions and legendaries weren't enough, not even your starter Pokemon is safe from this problem. realm. Probably the best example of a Pokemon getting the shaft is Sceptile. Sceptile's stats make it out to be a good, fast special attacker. This is until you look at its move pool and cringe. Sceptile's move pool clearly says that its attack and special attack were meant to be switched, because this thing's physical move pool is on fire. Very easily its physical moves can cover all of its weaknesses, and it really seems like this Pokemon's purpose was to finally be a solid grass type that could cover all of its bases. Even its formerly signature move Leaf Blade was converted into a physical attacking move as of Gen 4. So why does Sceptile have 20 more points in special attack than it does in its attack stat? They didn't even fix this problem with Mega Sceptile. It gained a whopping 35 point difference between its two stats. But at least it has access to some moves, as Generation 5 Superior is extremely jealous of. Superior can spec into either attack or special attack with a few interesting tricks, but either way it has a very limited move pool. Why Sceptile can learn a whole bunch of moves but Superior can't, I'm not entirely sure. The lack of arms certainly can account for some of it, but I'm not entirely sure why Sceptile can be taught Earthquake, Rock Slide, and X-Scissor, but Superior can't. There are plenty of other Pokemon with this issue. We're gonna be 8 generations into Pokemon now, and the fact that there are Pokemon that are over 25 years old that still have extremely limited move pools is a little bit infuriating. But on a final note with moves, I leave you with 2 things. First, Charizard, Gamefreak's golden child. Charizard's move pool is frankly incredible. My Typhlosion is jelly as all hell. Charizard is a special attacker and has access to viable fire moves and flying moves, on top of which it has an excellent hidden ability giving it access to instant solar beams covering 2 of its 3 weaknesses. To top it off, it got 2 Megas and is getting a unique Gigantamax form. It's also the only returning starter Pokemon to Sword and Shield. One of its Megas even allowed it to spec into physical attacks, and it also has a great physical move pool. The next item we're going to look at is the move Heat Lash, an 80 power physical fire move introduced in Generation 7. A move that would have been perfect for our Flareon. Sadly, this is a signature move, but instead of belonging to a Pokemon like Incineroar, Salazzle, or Turtonator, or any of the Gen 7 Firemons, it instead belongs to Heatmor, an obscure Generation 5 Pokemon, one with far less appealing stats. One that already had access to not only Flare Blitz, but Fire Punch? One that did not need a new viable physical fire move, unlike our poor Flareon. Flareon sells merch. Most people don't even remember that Heatmor is a Pokemon. Apparently, somebody at Gamefreak sure did. Finally, let's come back to Flareon's stats. Giving Flareon a viable move at the end of the day wouldn't help it that much. Switching its 95 special attack with its speed or defense could go even further to bringing Flareon's usability up. To me, these are the sort of things that need to be changed in the Pokemon game, and they desperately need it. If you're going to start making a game with a smaller pool of Pokemon, maybe we should start giving that smaller pool of Pokemon a little bit of love. Well guys, I've wit and made myself a little bit sad with this video. I'm curious as to your thoughts on this. Has anyone else had an issue with this? I hate when I'm replaying older titles again and looking for new Pokemon that I've never taken against the Elite Four, only to notice that their move pool sucks. Every generation, I'm constantly paying attention to what new stat changes there are, what new moves are coming out, and what older moves are getting changes, all in hope of seeing some of these old Pokemon finally getting better move pools. But more often than not, what it seems like happens is Pokemon just seem to get all these new moves stapled on to their old move pools. Like Entei, it can be taught Bulldoze through TM, and Stomping Tantrum through Move Tutor, yet you can't teach it Earthquake, or how Sylveon can be taught Psyshock, but not Psychic. I don't know, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Now this is normally the part of the video where people tell you, go sub to my Patreon, help support me. I don't need your money. Instead, please give this video a thumbs up and share it around. I've personally found this to be one of the most annoying issues we've seen in any of the Pokemon games, and I would really love to get the awareness of this spread around. Until next time guys, watch out for bears.